Special shout out to all my patrons. I don't care that they're not budging. I want to make them look stupid.
Okay, so because now I understand you give exceptions for imminent life and danger. Okay, can you explain to me?
I'm sorry, I can't.
Oh my god, let me in.
We just went over
Oh,
this. We
sorry,
literally,
I meant
we
to bring Java
literally
up.
went. Why? If Rachel's in the queue on on Mocha's account, I can drop for her to come up.
Okay. All right. Like I said, I didn't mean to bring everybody up. It was an accident. Like I wanted it to do with them one-on-one. But anyways,
Well, you could drop them and tell them to get back in the queue.
yeah,
Yeah.
I wanted to.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's your
Are you guys
life.
okay? Yeah. Are you guys okay with that? I want to do a one-on-one right now because it kind of gets chaos. So can one of you pro-choicers drop? And I'm gonna drop one of the prolifers.
Okay, I'll let you stay up and I'll drop, and then that way when Rachel comes in, Kay can switch with Rachel.
Okay.
Oh, Rachel's here, so Kay, you want to drop? Me and you drop.
Actually, I would like to have a moment because I haven't had a moment.
Yeah, no, you're fine. I'm gonna drop, and then when you bring Rachel in, you can bring her up.
Okay. Okay. So can I just drop one of you pro-choicers and you can jump right in the box and I'll bring you right up next.
Sure.
I know everybody, Java, everybody seems they want you up here, so I didn't know. It's up to you.
Doesn't matter to me.
Okay, Bana, are you okay with that?
You mean you want to drop me and then I can come back?
Yeah, I can bring you right back up, hon. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'll bring you right back up. So, okay, so Java, go ahead and give us your stance.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty staunchly pro-choice. I don't think any human being alive has the right to your bodily resources without direct consent. And I heard you guys are pretty staunch on your pro-life stance. I was just wondering, like, why you think abortions are wrong. Like, if I could get, like, a direct reason.
Are you wanting to go host or do you want me to go? I could.
Yeah, sorry. My son was interrupting me. Can you repeat that again? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm very staunchly pro-choice. I think no human alive has a right to your bodily resources without direct consent. And so I was just wondering what you guys' reason, like why you think abortions are wrong or immoral in your viewpoint.
Well, one, it doesn't matter. Like I was telling Jeff earlier, it doesn't matter how it was conceived or how it got there. That baby, unborn child, has every right to life, just as much as the mother says.
Sure.
So it's not our life to take. It is already, once it is implanted into the uterus, it is already a different DNA, a different cell, a different life.
Okay. Do you believe the right to life is a positive or negative right?
It's a positive. It's positive, right? Like I said, it doesn't matter how that life got there.
So is it positive in all senses, or are you just or is it like special pleading for the fetus that it's only positive? Because I would argue that as soon as you're born, your right to life is no longer a positive right. So then is it positive until you're born?
Can you elaborate on that? I'm kind of lost.
Yeah. Do you know what a positive and negative right are?
Yes. So, okay, if you want to answer that, you can.
Okay. Well, a negative means that they're needing your resources.
That would be a positive. A negative would mean that you don't have to do anything to respect that right.
So it's positive both in the uterus as well as outside the uterus.
Okay, so if your right to life is positive, how do I respect that right to life? What do I have to give you outside of the uterus for your right to life to be positive?
The day one, like resources, food.
Sure, we can argue that there's we can argue legality, but we're talking like morally, right? So like
No. Yeah. So how does a 1-day-old take care of themselves?
You have a legal
give their own resources to survive.
Yeah, you have a legal right. You have a legal obligation to protect your children outside of the womb because you opt into parenthood.
Wait, you just said you weren't going to argue legality.
No, but that's what I'm saying. That's why rights aren't positive. You're only forced to by law. Like if we remove law of the land, no one's forcing you to do anything. You can leave a baby on a stump if you wanted to and walk away. But that's why I'm arguing morality, right? So morally, do you have a positive or negative right to another human being.
You are positive when you're in the uterus, and you're positive when you're outside the uterus.
Okay, so then I'm
Still
asking
need
you.
to be provided. Resources are still needed to be provided to you.
Great. So me and you, for instance, how do I positively affect your right to life?
You contribute to society to help me afford for resources.
How so?
Why don't we go to when does human life begin?
Whenever conception, if you want it to. Well, it doesn't matter to me when it begins. It can begin whenever.
So you're fine with so at what point do you have any exceptions on timeline on when it's supposed to?
I would say after there is a subjective conscious experience, we should prioritize abortion methods that would maintain the life of the fetus, so induction abortions or hysterectomy abortions. But prior to that, I don't really care how we do it, because at that point it's just a body. There's not a person in that body yet.
Sentience in a fetus.
Well, this isn't sentience. This is conscious human experience. We kind of have a pretty good idea of when that starts based on the development of the cerebral cortex. So, or like conservatively, I would give it like 20 weeks, but like science is pretty much on the 22 to 24 range. But I don't argue sentience. Consciousness and sentience are two different things.
Right. So again, how do you measure consciousness?
Well, you can't measure it. That's why I put the gauge of subjective, because it's hard to measure specifically what consciousness is. That's why I put that preemptive there. But we know what part of your brain generates those type of responses. We know what part, and we know at about what time that part of the brain develops. So we know once the fetus has that capacity and is able to, utilize that capacity, that's when I say we should start prioritizing methods of abortion that would keep it alive.
Okay. So if you're being conservative, why are you not being conservative at conception?
Why would I need to be? It doesn't have those pieces
because
yet.
You have no evidence showing otherwise.
Yes, we have plenty of evidence that show that the cerebral cortex is what gives you your
that it was not measurable.
Yeah, no, I didn't. I'm saying it's hard to measure what specifically is or is not conscious. That's very difficult, right? That's hard to boil down. But we have a pretty good scientific understanding about what part of the brain it comes from, right? So since we have the understanding of where it comes from, then it's pretty easy to now know when that part of the brain starts to develop. And the folds of the cerebral cortex, conservatively, on like the very early end, 20 weeks, I give it. Even though like most scientists and doctors will say 22 to 24. Conservatively, I'll give it 20 weeks. After that point, I think we should prioritize abortion methods that would keep the fetus alive.
So you're just saying parts need to be there?
I'm saying the part of the brain that consciousness comes from should be there, yes.
Right, so it doesn't matter if it works or not?
What do you mean it doesn't matter if it works or not?
If it doesn't work, that part of the brain?
Yeah, if that part of the brain does, if you are a creature without consciousness, if you're a human without consciousness, I don't care what we do to you. There's not a person there. You're just a body.
Okay, so you're fine with unaliving an adult, anybody that's born without that.
If they're brain dead and they don't have consciousness, yeah, I don't really care what we do with the body.
Dead necessarily.
Well, that's the only way. That's the only way.
That part.
That is quite literally. I guess you could have like, what is it, hydrocephaly, like advanced hydrocephaly. But yeah, I would say that person isn't a person because they don't have the parts of the brain needed to be a person. I think the advanced cases of that, they have spinal cords and that's it, or brain stems and that's it, and you don't get consciousness from brain stems.
Right, but even if they're having reactions to circumstances, that's not enough for you to determine that.
Reactions can just be your nerves reacting. It doesn't have to be a conscious reaction, right? Like ants have reactions. Ants aren't conscious.
Sure, so you have reactions right now, so I could just then unalive you then.
No, because I have a subjective human consciousness. I can vocalize. There's on the large range of consciousness. There's
vocalization?
No, I just said there's a large range of things.
Okay.
It's not just like one thing. There's like a ton of things. That's why, again, this is why I preface it with subjective.
Right. Well, these are your ton of things. So
yep, subjective human experience.
Right.
If
And they stated verbalization. Is there
yeah,
anything
that
else?
can be
Because
one
I'm
of
sure
them.
you're not
Memory can
saying
be
stuff
another one
about
of them. There's a bunch of them. It's subjective, hence why that's why I
so
keep saying
memory.
subjective.
So people with Alzheimer's that can't obtain memory
Ma'am, I
is
don't know how many times I have to
not
say
living.
subjective for you to. You keep trying to like point at things, but I keep saying, do you know what
Right, but
subjective
these are your
means?
claims. So you're saying these claims that are subjective really hold no value whatsoever.
Do you know what subjective means?
Yes. So your
Great.
whole argument is that this is your subjective value?
I think we as a society value that. That's why we that's why we pull
Okay,
the plug
then
on
why
brain
would
dead
you say
people.
subject?
Because
Okay,
each
great.
individual person's idea of what is required for consciousness is slightly different, because consciousness is a very abstract idea that's hard to boil down. So we say a subjective conscious human experience because some humans experience life differently than other humans. But without the part of the
Sure.
brain that actually is engaging in that consciousness, you're not
Sure.
experiencing things as a person.
Like possibly before 20 weeks.
Yes, before the folds in the cerebral
But
cortex start
before
forming.
20 weeks, they could possibly be experiencing things different.
They're not experiencing anything because the part of the brain that does the experiencing is not developed.
Again. And this again, so this measurement is how accurate? How are they telling this measurement?
Because we can scan fetuses' brains while they're in the womb.
Okay,
So we know
you're
when
saying that it's the part or it's not the
What?
part? Because we just stated. So you're saying if it's the part,
I don't think
then
you're
it doesn't
listening. I
matter
don't
if
think
it
you're.
actually works or not.
I don't think
Huh?
you're listening to me to listen. I think you're listening to respond.
Hey, Kay, can I bring Barbie up real quick? She's in the queue. She wants to talk with them.
If you don't mind, I have a question for, please correct me if I'm wrong, Jovan?
Jovan.
Or is it Jovan?
Yeah, like I said, I do want to keep it one-on-one for right now. Oh, you dumb cat.
I mean,
Then,
multiple people can talk to me. That's fine.
Okay.
I know, but yeah, I mean, I will, but right now I want to keep them one-on-one, and then I'll bring multiples in later. But I'll let conservative say something, and then I'm gonna let Barbie up.
Okay, so my question is, why would it matter if this person can have subjective experiences?
Well, because I want to give rights to people. I don't care about giving rights to bodies.
Okay, so do you know who Noah Wall is?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so do you think he was not a rights-bearing individual after he was born then, since he was only born with 2% of his brain?
Yeah, Noah Wall's brain was being crushed by his skull. He still had the ability to grow those pieces. They were just being crushed by his skull. That's why they just put in a, I don't remember what it's called, not a splint, but whatever they put in his head to raise his skull so the rest would grow. Now, like somebody like Trevor Waltrip, who had the same thing but didn't have, his brain wasn't squished. He had hydrocephaly and there was nothing in his brain. He had amniotic fluid in his brain. No, I wouldn't grant him rights. The rights I would give would be to the parents. Just like even in Noah's case, the rights I would give would be the rights to the parents. The parents get to choose whether they want to keep it alive or not.
So that other young man, I don't remember his name off the top of my head now for some reason.
Trevor Waltrip?
Yes, Trevor. Mm-hmm. So you wouldn't grant Trevor the same rights as like you would grant a atypical like newborn?
No, not at all. I would say the rights go to the parents, 100%. Like if he was born, the parents would have the right to keep him alive or not keep him alive because the choice is theirs. But yeah, wasn't having any sort of conscious human experience. And I actually think it was cruel for them to leave him alive as long as they did, because he was just like could feel pain synapses in his brain but couldn't comprehend consciously what that pain was. I think that's cruel as hell.
Trevor was still a rights-bearing individual because he was able to smile and had different ways of communicating with his parents.
Yeah, I don't believe much of that past, because everything that research that I've read from what the parents have said, they go, well, he recognizes us, he recognizes this, he recognizes that, but they haven't shown there are no studies on Trevor Waltrip, right? We just have what his parents said happened. There have been no studies on what he actually experienced. They didn't allow anyone to actually like see, is the kid experiencing or is he just having like reactions to stimuli, right? There's a difference between experiencing something and just your body reacting to stimuli. He physically only had a brain stem. That's it. That's all he had.
Right. A reaction to stimuli is still a subjective experience though.
I mean, not a conscious one. It could be a subjective experience, but it's not a subjective conscious experience because you're not conscious of what's happening.
I don't think consciousness should matter.
I do. I think it's what makes us people.
There are individuals that are unconscious every day when they have surgery. Does that
they
person
opt
then
into
not have
they
rights?
opt into a contract? They go under anesthesia, under the understanding that they will be brought back.
Right, but so you still think that that person won't have the rights, whether it's a contractual agreement or not?
No, they opted into a contract. They went into anesthesia under the knowledge that they would come out of anesthesia. So no, I don't think we can remove their rights just because.
Okay, let's take this a step further then. So if an individual gets into like a car wreck, for example, and they are unconscious, do they not have the right to then be revived?
Not
Because
I mean,
they're unconscious,
we
they don't have the
we value what their
subjective
conscious
value.
we value what their decision was when they were conscious, right? So if they pull out a DNR, we won't revive them because they're but if they have previous consciousness and the ability to be brought out of that previous consciousness, they still have the capacity to be conscious. A fetus prior to 20 weeks conservatively doesn't even have the capacity for it. These people still have the capacity for it.
Yeah, but fetuses can sense pain and movement, and they can.
Ants can feel pain. That doesn't mean they're conscious.
Babies,
You know that babies prior to, I think it's 4 weeks, they'll smile, but it's not because they're happy. It's just because their muscles are smiling to learn how to do it. Like there's no emotion behind that smile. Their body just does the smile. So just because you're moving, just because things are happening doesn't mean you're conscious. It just means that those things are happening.
Right, like babies that are born already, they don't have the cognitive ability to recognize that they're self-aware until around like 3 to 4 months old.
Well, I'm not so worried about like self-aware. That would be sentience.
Right.
I'm not worried. I'm not super worried about sentience.
Like being self-aware with the ability to have a what's the word off the top of my head? A subjective experience, you would have to be then conscious, in your opinion. Now, I still believe that a individual in the womb could still have a subjective experience prior to 20 weeks.
Are they having a subjective conscious experience though? Like I'll give you that they could have a subjective experience, but is it a conscious experience? I would argue it's not.
I mean, you can't really ask like a 10-week-old fetus because they won't be able to communicate that back to you at that time.
No, but like take for instance a 4-year-old baby. Or not even, I'm sorry, like a 4-month-old baby. We know that they're building memories. We know that they're having facial recognition. We know that they're starting to connect these dots in their brain. We know that that's happening because we've studied how it happens, right? A fetus prior to 20 weeks can't do any of that. That's why they have this idea that like fetuses after a certain point can recognize songs because their brain is starting to make connections to different sounds. So like but it's all after a certain point of time. Prior to that point in time, I think it's akin to a body. I'm not going to grant it rights. But even if I did grant it full rights, even if I said this has a right to life, it has a right to all of this, I would still say that there is no human being on this planet that has a right to your bodily resources without your direct consent.
You can't consent to a biological process. And
Correct.
that child in the womb is aging the child in the womb is aging. Because aging is a biological process.
Wait, you can't consent to a
friend-
biological process, sure, but you can consent to whether something stays inside of you. I don't believe you can consent till pregnancy until you know you're pregnant. As soon as you know you are pregnant, that's when you get to make the decision, do I want to maintain this creature inside of me or not? And I think because no other creature gets that right, I wouldn't give that right to a fetus.
Okay. So what if the woman never knew that she was pregnant and she experienced an ecryptic pregnancy? Once that child is born, is the parent then obligated, or should that parent then give that child rights because they never had the chance to make the choice in the first place to even consent to the pregnancy?
Yeah, so there's a couple things I want to say to that, but the most I'll say is once that child is born, it's now an autonomous being that can generate its own level of homeostasis. It no longer needs like someone to quote unquote host it to keep it alive. So I believe it now has its own level of bodily autonomy, and you can't infringe on somebody else's bodily autonomy if they have it. So I would say, like, especially like legally, you're obligated to at least get that child some level of care. Otherwise, it's neglect.
But you can infringe upon their bodily autonomy prior to 20 weeks in the womb.
Yeah, because they're not autonomous then. So they don't have
They
bodily
have their own
autonomy.
body.
It's not an autonomous body.
What makes an autonomous body then?
Being able to exist individually from something else. It can't until it's viable. And then when you take it out, it can. But prior to that, it's not autonomous in any way, shape, or form. It's not performing its own homeostasis. It's not an autonomous being. So I don't know why I would give it a level of bodily autonomy.
It is performing its own homeostasis from the moment of conception.
It is not. If it's performing its own homeostasis from the moment of conception, then we should be able to take it out and it should be able to stay alive.
It won't be able to stay alive without extreme machinery, but that science and technology hasn't been created yet. Someday it will. But
Sure. The further we get with technology, the more my stance will change on when to provide methods of abortion that would keep the fetus alive. But we don't have that yet. So I'm not going to force someone to have their bodily autonomy violated until, like, no, you can remove your bodily autonomy. You can remove a violation to your bodily autonomy whenever you want.
Okay, so do you believe that once the child reaches viability, that if the woman decides to withdraw resources, that they should do everything to help the child then live outside of the womb? Or
Yeah, I
should it
believe
be a lethal type of abortion.
I believe after 20 weeks, 20 conservatively, 22 conservatively probably, because that's like the earliest we have for viability, that doctors should prioritize methods of abortion that would keep the fetus alive. So induction abortions or hysterectomy abortions could both keep the hysterectomy. Hysterectomy, that's the name. They could both keep the fetus alive. So we should prioritize those, but I would leave the ultimate decision up to doctors because doctors know what's best. So if, like, for instance, a woman has an infection or something where one of those methods would kill her, it should be her choice whether she's going to give her life up for the fetus or not. She should get the full say there.
Hey, can we censor our words real quick, like unalive?
Sure.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
I thought we were both doing well at this point with censoring words, to be honest.
Yeah. He just slipped up once. I just want to make sure.
Yeah, no problem.
So hey, conservative, can Barbie had a debate in for just a little bit? Like I said,
sure.
I'm pretty sure this gentleman I just brought in.
I've talked to this Barbie bitch before. She's the worst, bro.
No, I'm not.
You're pro-life?
I wouldn't say that either.
Okay, can I get your stance real quick?
Sure. I believe in most cases I would say I prefer life, not pro-life, because forcing someone to do anything.
I'm dunking, bro.
Violation
I'm
of free will,
dunking.
in my opinion.
Okay.
So, so like, for example, if you wanted to go unalive somebody, I can't really stop you from doing that. Do I think it's wrong? Yes, but I don't have I could stop you, but then I'm doing something at the same time that's wrong. It's interesting, to say the least. But I came in here because I wanted to ask Joven a question. So he said, the reason that one boy that you were talking about wasn't valid as a person was because he couldn't develop a consciousness. Yeah.
Trevor, yeah, he only had a brainstem, yes.
Right. So, how does an embryo make a difference? Because an embryo is obviously going to become a person, which is going to form a brain. So,
It's just
how does that not?
It's just a
your argument.
Yeah, it's just a potential argument. I don't focus on what things will become. I focus on what they currently are. So, like a fetus, an embryo currently has no brain function. It doesn't have brain function. So I don't worry about what it potentially could. I worry about what it currently has the capacity to engage in.
That's a terrible argument.
How so?
Because if you don't look to that's just a terrible argument. Like, how are you going to say, you are pregnant, right? You're going to have a child. You're just going to ignore the fact that is a thing? Or, like, you don't value it because it's not a human yet.
Not a person. It's definitely human. It's got human DNA, but I wouldn't consider it like a person yet. There are plenty of things that have human DNA that we don't consider people, right? So when I look at potential arguments, I can flip those any way I want, right? Like if a 5-year-old has the potential to become 21, I don't give a 5-year-old alcohol now because it will in the future be 21. Or like people have the potential to be dead. I don't treat them like they're dead prior to them being dead, right? So when I look at potential, I just see it as but my issue with potential is it removes us talking about a fetus, and now we're talking about a broad concept, and potential can start as far back as we want. Like a fetus, when acted upon in certain ways, will have the potential to develop human consciousness and become a person. So will sperm. So what would be the differential?
See, what you're doing right now is you're taking the human qualities away from the word fetus. What you're talking about in the whole example is a human being. Whether it's from cells or full growth.
Sure.
See, the way you're arguing this is you're taking the humanity from the fetus.
I literally just said it. I literally just said it's a human being. It's just not a person. I've literally said that multiple times, that it's a human being. It's got human DNA. Obviously, it's a human being.
So you're choosing to kill a human being?
Yeah, we kill human beings all the time. It's just is the unaliving. Sorry, host. Is the unaliving justified or not? That's the question that I have. Is it justified or not? And I would say that in terms of unwanted pregnancy, I would say it's absolutely justified.
Okay, so in your terms of unwanted pregnancy, do you mean what do you mean?
Any time you're pregnant and you don't want to be pregnant.
Okay, so then we can just unalive people whenever we want.
How do you make that logical leap from what I just said?
Because that's the whole process. You're unaliving a human being.
I'm unaliving someone that's taking my bodily resources without my consent. Yeah, I'm removing, and it's not even unaliving because prior to because it's 12 weeks and under, you can use the pill, which all the pill does is remove the ability for the fetus to take or removes your body from creating the specific hormones the fetus needs. So you're just taking back your resources. What's wrong with that?
But the fetus has a positive right to those resources while in the womb.
I would disagree, but we can get into that if you want.
You didn't consent to a child being there, but that is not true. Unless in certain circumstances, I'm not even going to talk about this. But if you consented with another person to have intercourse and it results in a baby, you took a risk. Regardless of if you use protection or not, you took a risk.
So taking a risk is different than consenting, right? And I don't remember if it was you, host, or if it was another person in here. We've already agreed amongst ourselves in the panel that consent to sex is not consent to pregnancy, because you can't consent to a biological process. You can understand the risks, absolutely, but I don't think an understanding of the risk removes your ability to take actions in the future.
Why?
Because then we would say people who smoke and get lung cancer can't have chemo because they understood the risk. The logic wouldn't hold up in any other instance.
See, but cancer is an aggressor upon the body.
I would argue a fetus is as well.
Right. There are individuals that have been diagnosed with lung cancer that were never smokers, so they were never able to acknowledge the risk of getting lung cancer in that type of situation.
Sure, but I would argue that most people do, and under what you guys talked about earlier, we don't talk about this minute percent, right? I'd argue the majority of people who get lung cancer probably smoked or had secondhand smoke, but secondhand smoke would be akin in this situation to talking about SA. So you guys said earlier didn't want to talk about that, so I don't want to go into something where the logic would be similar.
Okay, so having intercourse, the consequence would be a child, right? Smoking cigarettes,
one of them,
consequence is possibly cancer, etc.
They were one of the risks, yes.
Undo the other one. You can't undo that. I mean, you can go get treatment for cancer and etc.
You can,
but a child, it's there, and then you're taking it away.
You can slow down the process of it, though.
See, here's
you can get treatment for an STD. You can get treatment for an STI, and then the treatment for pregnancy would just finish the pregnancy, and then you can opt to place the child with someone else to transfer the parental obligation to somebody else once the child is born. You don't have to take on the parental obligation of any child.
Yeah, so all I would say to that is, why can you not remove the child? What's the reasoning behind it?
Because life begins at conception and it's a rights-bearing individual from the moment of conception.
We kill rights-bearing individuals all the time. There are justified killings of rights-bearing individuals, one of them being if someone is taking your resources, which the fetus is doing. So what would the reason be? Because we've already established in human society that there are exceptions to killing, and there are justified I'm sorry, host, I keep forgetting, my apologies. There are exceptions to unaliving. So why is this not one of them? What would the reason be?
Okay,
Give an
because
example of someone taking your resources that gives you the right to unalive them.
If someone won't leave my property and they keep stealing stuff from me, I can
You
absolutely.
don't legally have the right to unalive somebody for being on your property.
If
You can
if
only
they
unalive
refuse to
somebody
leave,
if
yes,
you
you
prove
do.
There was an actual threat. Like if he actually, you have to prove that there's a threat, or you will be arrested.
Yeah, if they refuse to
so-
leave, yes.
So it's
This-
not
this-
the fact that he's trying to take something. Someone can walk in your house, take something from you, and you can't unalive them unless you prove that they tried to physically threaten your life.
Well, first of all, it depends on the state you're in. Some states you have stand your ground laws. If someone just looks at you funny, you can technically do whatever you want, right? Because you have stand your ground laws. So that's just an appeal to legality. But what I'm saying is, if somebody comes into my home that I don't want in my home and my property, and they refuse to leave, and the only method I have to get them out, every other method does not work for me to get my home and my stuff back. If every other method fails, I'm pulling out the 9, bro. Get out of my home. If you won't leave when asked, if you won't leave when I call the cops, if you won't leave during any of these, guess what I'm doing?
Right. That's when that individual is an aggressor, and that could be banging on your door in the middle of the night and trying to get into your house. Now, the fetus is a non-aggressor. Now, if the fetus becomes an aggressor, that would be the form of like a medically necessary abortion to where the mother's life is in imminent danger. Then yes, the abortion should probably take place. Now, if there's past viability, do everything you can to save the child and the mother. And then if it's prior to viability, do everything you can to try to save both, but probably the odds are you're only going to be able to save the mother.
Yeah, my only contention to that. Oh, apologies. Go ahead.
If the fetus is a non-aggressor, though, there's no reason to aggress upon that fetus.
Yeah, my only contention to that would be is if somebody is taking your bodily resources without your permission, they are now an aggressor. Whether they're conscious or not, they're still aggressing upon you. So I would say abortions are absolutely justified in that sense.
Right, but it's an exchange of resources between the mother and the child in the womb, or possibly children.
An exchange that the mother is not consenting to or willingly giving. So.
Right, but she could let the child have the positive rights to her resources, and then when the child is able to be born or pass viability and can be transferred to someone else for the parental obligation portion of that child's life, then why aggress upon that child prior to viability?
So can I just ask, do you think rights violations, you have to wait to remove rights violations? Because it seems like in this scenario you're proposing that it's taking her resources and that's bad, but she can just wait and it will eventually stop. So there are instances in human life where you could have your rights being crazy violated. Are you saying those people should just wait if they know that it will eventually stop?
I'm gonna need like an example or something.
Yeah, he's trying to compare it to like you're being assaulted or something like that.
Well, yeah. What if you have a husband? What if you have a husband who habitually essay? Not to bring up essay, but it is an instance of this logic forming. So you have a husband who habitually essays you. So he's not going to kill you. Eventually the essay will stop. He's in the middle of essaying you, and you're able to grab something sharp. Are you saying because it will stop and the rights violation will eventually end, you shouldn't be able to end it right there? I would argue you can.
Hey, Feathers, I have Josh. Can I bring him up? Are you good?
I mean, if you want to switch me for Josh, I'm totally down for that.
Yeah, because I know I have 2 pro-choicers, and I'm not sure. Like I kind of don't know the guy's stance in the middle.
Which Josh is it?
You'll see. He's a good friend.
Do you want me to switch for
Wonder,
Josh?
wonder if it's the one I know.
I'll switch out to the person.
All right, I'll drop for Josh.
Oh, it's this Josh. What's up, Josh?
What's going on, man? Yeah, Jovan and I dated before, but
Yeah.
The last time you and me like jumped on, it was the first time that we debated, and I wasn't completely honest with you. I was actually testing stuff that we were developing in the plan.
All right. Well, I took the W. So if you've got answers for that stuff now, I'd love to hear them.
Yeah. I absolutely ascribe to both parental and causal obligations and stuff like that. But I have a question about like where you were going with this stuff. So like you're arguing against.
No, you're muted, Josh.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, you got muted.
We good? Sorry, I had a. Yeah, I had. Oh. Yep.
We hear you.
Yeah. Oh, you keep muting.
If you're getting an echo, Josh, I suggest you just go to your home screen and come back up.
Yeah. If you need to exit out, Josh, come back and I'll bring you right back up. This is like really bad. Anyways, hi Allie, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing? It's been a minute since I've been on.
It has been a minute. I mean, I kind of. No, I haven't. I have not taken a break. I say I'm supposed to take a break, but I'm not. But I'm honestly just hosting.
I'm eating so hard, bro. I'm like eating so hard, bro. They haven't been able to touch me.
Jump in. Feel free to jump in.
I wanted to. I mean, obviously, I want Javon and Josh to continue the conversation, but when they get a little break, I wanted to ask Not down here a question about his stance. Go ahead, y'all though.
Okay.
Yeah. So, like, I think what you were arguing against was proportional force, right, Jovan?
Yeah, I mean, I'm somewhat of an evictionist in the sense that I think like doctors should prioritize saving methods, but like at the end of the day, I would give the decision up to them and the person who's pregnant. I wouldn't interfere in it.
If somebody is like takes a piece of candy, that I have the right to unalive them.
No, I believe you have to try all other methods first.
Wait, hold on. But like, why does that matter? If proportional force isn't really an issue, then why wouldn't I just be justified in like unaliving them simply for taking any amount of my resources at any given time?
What do you mean? I've already said that if you can prioritize the life, you should do that. So what do you mean?
Wait, hold on.
Seems like you're arguing a point I never made.
Why? Okay, so for prioritizing the life, then why are we not just allowing for the actual gentlest means, which would be to like go up into the point of delivery?
Yeah. So for that, I would present you with the scenario I gave to the panel previously, which was if you know a rights violation is going to end, can you end that rights violation by other means? So for example, someone's getting essayed. They know if they're being essayed by their husband or something, they know eventually it will stop, but they are able to grab onto something sharp. Under your logic, the gentlest means for them to end the rights violation would be to wait until he's done. I would say no, they can take their rights back in the means they want to take the rights back.
That wouldn't be my logic that would follow, simply because we can absolutely agree that SA and R word is like foreseeably an imminent mortal threat to somebody, and by that I mean like there is an absolute risk, right, that an imminent danger could happen where like their life is in danger. So
I would say that's true of pregnancy too, especially depending on where you're located in the world.
That's not true, because
what do you mean? Look at them.
Hold on, we can look at the MMR and we can see that like the maternal mortality rate is astronomically low. It's not.
So what about in a country like Nigeria where it's astronomically high? So are they now okay to have abortions? So is it just about what country you live in?
So now you think that based on like certain things where certain protections aren't upheld, right?
What?
Where,
what are you talking about?
Then they're completely okay with.
Josh, hold on, Josh, wait. I think you're not listening to respond to me. I think you're listening to respond, not to what I'm saying. You said that the maternal mortality rate is low, which I'll give you. It's fair. I mean, it's not as low as it should be in America, but it's not super high. But like they're not in imminent danger, quote unquote. But let's put them in a country where the maternal mortality is high. So now you are in imminent danger. Now everything has shifted. Does your logic stay the same, or does your logic now change because you're special pleading?
So the fact why the mortality rate's higher in those other countries. I don't think anybody on this panel is from Nigeria, for one. And for two, I'm sure there are reasons why the mortality rate is much higher there versus here.
Yeah, it's because they don't have accurate means to get to like hospitals, and they don't have abortion access there. So when they are going to die, they can't take it out of they can't take it out of them.
But your stance is what's saying this, right? I would say that no, they still wouldn't need to like do this. What I'm pushing back on is this idea that like SA is an exception or anything like that to this, because you can because they didn't, for whatever reason, right?
But then, Josh, you can't use imminent danger. You physically can't use it, because here's an instance where getting pregnant might put you at imminent danger, and even now you're saying they cannot. So then what is the actual reason why somebody can unalive someone when they're essaying them, but they can't unalive them when they're pregnant?
Can you point to me exactly the reasonings why, right, a pregnancy would like put them in imminent mortal danger?
Wait, what does the reasoning why matter, Josh? What does the reasoning why matter?
Here's the thing. I challenge the idea that like the MMR is so drastically different in this other country that they like have the absolute right to just unalive the child.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Yeah, so like your argument, right, or at least your pushback on this, is that the MMR is different in different countries, and therefore, like, it's justifiable in these cases where, like, you can absolutely, like, unalive the child in an abortion, right?
Yeah, 35% of the world's mortality, maternal mortality comes from Nigeria.
Hold on, hold on, Joe. I like you, brother. So, like, I'm gonna go with the same rules that you gave to me, because I feel like that was like a response I'm not listening here. So, like, I'm asking what the rate of the MMR is. Like, what are you quantifying as the level under which the MMR has to be for there to be a justifiable like abortion?
Well, I don't need to qualify, because I don't think you need to be in mortal danger. You do. So you would need to quantify what the maternal mortality rate is. I don't need to, because that's not my stance. That's your stance.
I'm not making a claim yet.
You did make a claim.
Hold on. I'm pushing back on your claim.
Josh,
right?
Josh, hold on. Josh, wait, pause. Josh, please. No, please, Josh, can we pause here? I have never made the claim that you have to be in imminent danger to remove a rights violation. You did when I said, why can someone do this in one instance in the other? You said, well, because in this instance, they would believe they're in imminent danger. That is what you said. So you would have to tell me what your threshold for imminent danger is.
Okay, so, like, here's the thing. What we're not going to do is we're not going to, like, stop me from finishing out my thought to go back and, like, not, like, accurately say what I was saying. So, here's the thing. When we were talking about this, right, we were talking about how originally I put back in, because we can start from the beginning to retrace this back.
Please don't.
If you were arguing proportional force, right, you said that you were arguing against proportional force. And I asked, okay, cool. So, like, what is this that, like, goes through? And you said the gentlest means to, like, secure both the life, right? And I asked you, okay, awesome. Why wouldn't we then just allow this to go to the actual gentlest means in delivery, right? And so then you said that you basically put out that, like, no, I'm going to pose this to you. I'm going to basically an argument that supports, like, no, I want to end the rights violation now. And so I said at that point, right? At that point, why is this the gentlest means necessary in this situation where it is an obvious mortal threat, but the kids are not really an imminent mortal threat here based on an MMR and based on these things? Then you shifted over to...
I didn't.
Then you shifted over to, well, by that logic, over here in another country where they don't have resources, right? They're not a mortal threat. I can do that. You didn't.
So that's not, Josh, that's not what happened.
Originally.
You can't gaslight me here, okay? That's not what happened.
I'm not
so
gaslighting you. I'm literally just retraced the entirety of what we.
No, Josh, when you asked me if I was gentlest means, I said, I think doctors should prioritize the life of the fetus if they can, but ultimately I would leave it up to them and the person pregnant. So I'm not making a stance for gentlest means because I think the doctor should have the final say one way or another. So I'm not making a gentlest means stance at all. I never claimed I was.
You said you were a pseudo evictionist. So like
Yeah, pseudo. What does pseudo mean?
So do you agree with gentlest means or don't you?
I think the doctor should have the final say, but I would think the doctor should prioritize the life of the fetus if they can, but I would give them final say. Wait, I said that at the start of this conversation.
Okay, cool. So like we would know, right? So let's say that we know for a fact that these things can be these things can be saved, right? Let's say it's not like a thing about what's it called, ectopic pregnancy. Let's say it's like not an ectopic pregnancy or something like that, where the child, we know that it can be saved. Do you think that the doctor should either way just go for an abortion and just say like, no, I don't think that's good because it's a lot easier to save like the life of the mother and just focus on the mother and not do this?
I think the doctor should propose whatever seems best medically for their patient. That's what I think doctors should do. Wait, I'm not a doctor, so why am I going to sit here and say doctors should do this or should do... Like, I think they should do whatever is best for their patient. Their patient's the mother.
Wait, no, it's not.
Yes, it is.
Both and the mother. You're saying that they should protect both lives.
Fetus don't got an insurance policy. The fetus ain't the patient.
Wait, hold on.
That wasn't his argument.
The patient?
I'm so sorry. I'm not even trying to be rude. I'm just listening in. His argument is that he believes the doctor should prioritize the fetus if they are able to do so. However, when it comes down to the actual patient, the mother would come first.
Wait, but
that was Jovan's argument, and I'm just listening in, so I'm confused.
And I'm saying that both of them are the patients.
They're not. The hospital ain't submitting claims for the fetus. They submit claims for the mother.
Hold on. So by this logic, right? Illegal immigrants should not be given care. By this logic,
bro, what? You're straw manning, bro.
By this logic, all of these things go down. That's a bad reductio.
Josh, you are better than a straw man. I've talked to you before. You're much better than a straw man.
Hold on. First off, I'm not straw manning. Explain to me how that, by your framework, wouldn't apply. Jesus Christ.
Because the mother's name's on the medical sheets. An illegal immigrant can still have their name on the medical sheets.
Wait, so if I don't have...
Fetus don't got a chart.
Not a patient?
Josh, the mother is the patient. They're trying to make sure the mother's pregnancy goes to plan. That's why in cases when like the mother's going to die, typically doctors will give them an option. I'll save you or I'll save the patient. If they're both, or I'll save you or I'll save the fetus. If they're both the patient, the doctor wouldn't give them a choice. The doctor would say, no, I'm doing whatever I want because you're both my patient. So I'm going to have a Hippocratic oath to keep both of you alive.
Wait,
but they don't do that.
So the child is a patient then?
No. What did you listen to what I just said?
Well, you said both of them are the patients.
No, I didn't.
Clarify. He actually literally clarified within his sentence. He said, sorry, not patient.
Yeah, I had a little bit of a Freudian slip.
Here's the thing. I don't necessarily think that simply because you don't have an insurance policy or because you can't physically see somebody that they are not your patient.
No, but if you don't have a chart for them, they're definitely not your patient.
Hold up. You're telling me if paperwork isn't like available, then somebody's not a patient? So what happens if they don't have paper? What happens if a doctor is like treating somebody and they don't have like the equipment to like log all of this stuff?
Josh, Josh?
Can I jump in just to ask? How would the fetus be the doctor's patient within even your hypothetical?
Wait, hold on. So the doctor is not providing...
No, it's a question. I'm just trying to clarify where you're coming from.
That's fine. So how is the doctor performing this operation that affects only the mother?
What operation? What are we talking about? What operation? What are we talking about?
It's,
Does
it is
delivery,
depending
okay,
on the
a medical
circumstance.
procedure, whatever you want, whether we're talking abortion, whether we're talking a medical procedure, do these things actually only affect the
Well, you
mother?
haven't answered my question yet, so if you could answer that, I would be able to engage in your
I'm
question.
literally building you up to a point of how I reach these like this like that this is also a patient.
You don't, not to be rude, but you don't have to build it up. I'm just, it's a simple, quick question. You're making it seem like you believe it's both patients. So I'm
Wait,
trying to
you
understand
asked me
if,
how the child is a patient, and you don't
yeah,
let me.
no, I'm asking you how would the, yeah,
Right.
how would the fetus be a patient to the doctor within your
She's,
hypothetical
she's
case?
asking you to just give a
Doctor
reason.
still
Don't ask
trying to provide
questions.
medical care to the child. The child is still having like in delivery. The doctor is definitely trying to ensure the safety of the child, right? And if we're arguing here in the scope right here that like we should be looking at saving both the lives if we can, then absolutely the child is indeed a patient because they're trying to provide medical care to ensure the life and health of the child.
And
Josh, you
it's
know what?
not due to the fetus. It's literally due to
Wait,
the mother's
wait.
condition, and it always has been.
Really quickly, Josh. What happens? What happens? You know what happens once the child starts being delivered? It's now a patient because the child gets its very first medical policies and insurance and doctor's notes and charts when it's born. It gets all that. So yeah, it officially becomes a patient of the hospital once it's born.
If somebody administers euthanasia, is that person a patient?
If someone administers you, what do you mean by that?
If somebody administers like in Canada when they have assisted euthanasia, right? If somebody is that person a patient?
Up until they die, yeah. Once they're dead, no.
Cool. So like this person that we're talking about, even in an abortion, is still alive. This is a
Josh, that's Josh, please.
So go on. You can laugh at it all you want.
Because I'm not arguing whether it's alive or not. I don't know what being alive has to do with anything.
That this is
You still have not been able to
regardless of
substantiate why
whether
the fetus would be considered a patient within this example.
Hands in the mother, or if they have their hands on the child, or both. It doesn't matter here, because at the end of the day, you even acknowledge and you even like see that the doctor needs to be protecting both of the lives as much as possible. You are just ceding priority to the mother,
correct,
even in the that it is not an imminent mortal threat. So like this is the issue that I have here is that unless it is an imminent mortal threat, we do not seek to end to terminate the pregnancy. Even in the case that it is an imminent mortal threat, we try to save both of them.
Cool. What's your threshold for that?
Pregnancies.
What is your threshold, Josh? What is your threshold for imminent mortal threat? What's your threshold?
Imminent mortal danger?
Yeah, what is your threshold for that?
Literally on the line.
So again, in a country with a high maternal mortality rate where every pregnancy could result in a death because of how poorly their medical situation is in that country, would you concede that they should be able to get abortions because just the act of being pregnant alone is an imminent mortal threat?
No, the act of being pregnant alone is not an imminent mortal threat. The imminent mortal threat is when you know, like, immediately that somebody is going to die. So, like, here's the thing. When I'm just pregnant, right? So, like, every single time that a pregnancy happens in these countries does not mean that this person is going to die. And we would all acknowledge that. Otherwise, the populations of these places would not be growing or stable. So, like, we acknowledge that pregnancy in and of itself isn't an imminent mortal threat.
Josh, what about the woman that went sepsis because they wouldn't perform an abortion because the fetus still had a heartbeat?
We knew that without terminating this pregnancy, the woman would die. Then absolutely, yeah. Like, we need to go in and we need to prioritize both the lives, and we need to save the life of the child if possible. I agree with you on this. What I don't agree with is this concept that, like, we should, like, take absolute priority of the mother and, like, toss the baby out no matter what.
Yeah, what about what was her name? I'll try to find her name because I want to, respect to her. Is it Savita Halapanavara? What about her? Do you know about her? Do you know what happened to her?
Saavida.
Savita, yeah. Do you know what happened to her?
I'm looking her up right now. Savita Navata, what?
Yeah, she died because she was denied an abortion by doctors because the country's laws made it so that she could not get an abortion. This was in Ireland.
Hold on.
Okay, well then you can argue their laws are.
Their laws are the same as Texas's laws right now. Their laws are the exact same as what Texas's laws are right now.
I don't necessarily know if that's the case, and I live in Texas, so
Well,
like,
it doesn't matter what Texas's laws are because
You just said I couldn't. You just said I couldn't argue Ireland because it's not in the United States. It's got the same laws as the United States, so now you're going.
Jovan,
Come on, bro.
Hold on, everybody. Jovan, what is her last name?
Halapanavara, Halappanavar.
Halappanavar.
She basically had a fetus that was non-viable. It was not going to survive. There was no way for it to survive. But doctors could not perform an abortion because...
She was denied an abortion during a miscarriage. That is not like what we're talking about here. We're not talking about like DNCs. We're talking about like elective abortions. This wouldn't have been
a DNC. Under Texas's laws, she would have been in the same circumstance because the fetus had not died yet. Yes, she would have.
Texas laws do not prevent you from going in and removing a like miscarriage from in the scope of like.
Texas literally has a heartbeat bill. They literally will not remove a fetus with a heartbeat.
Wait, hold on. She was having a miscarriage. This is misinformation, Joe.
No, it's not. The fetal heartbeat was still. No, you're misrepresenting. You're misrepresenting everything about this right now, my guy. You're misrepresenting everything about this right now. I'm not going to let you misrepresent this woman's death, my G.
I can't believe that you would come up and say
I'm not going to let you misrepresent this woman's death. Under the law, Josh, stop. Let me talk, my guy. Let me talk. Under the law, there was a fetal heartbeat present, so they physically could not perform the abortion. There are women now in states like Texas who can't have abortions for non-viable fetuses because there are fetal heartbeats detected. It's the exact same law. And she went sepsis, and the doctors couldn't save her because there was nothing they could do. And they couldn't predict she was going to go sepsis. They had no idea when she was going to go sepsis. There was no hint of sepsis that was going to happen. But it was acute. It happened.
That's false. I'm looking at the article.
No, it's not.
They absolutely knew that she had this issue. And if they knew that in Texas, they would have absolutely saved her life.
Jesus Christ, Josh. No, they did not.
This is absolutely false. I'm looking at it.
There was no risk to her life. Hence why they could not remove the fetus. In Texas, Josh.
Infection she contracted after she was denied an abortion during a miscarriage set off outrage across the country and gave momentum to a growing call for change. She was in the midst of a miscarriage.
How many times do I have to tell you there was still a fetal heartbeat? How many times do I have to tell you that? How many times? How many times do I have to repeat that there was a fetal heartbeat, so they couldn't perform an abortion because of the fetal heartbeat? And in Texas right now, if there is a fetal heartbeat present, you cannot perform an abortion. How many? Like, are you kidding me right now?
Hold up. No, this is not how the law works.
Yes, it is.
Like, okay, look, I live in Texas. This is not how the law works, Jovan.
Yes,
Josh,
it is.
Hang on. Let me take this. So, Giovanni, you're lying.
I'm not.
Josh is absolutely correct. I live in the state of Texas that they absolutely could not perform it because, one, she denied the second ultrasound. So that's what pro-choicers leave out and only read either the headline or not the full article. They only read half of the article. What truly happened was she denied a second ultrasound. When there was a heartbeat, the doctor came back and straight up told her, look, we have to perform a second ultrasound to make sure there isn't. Every doctor in every state, in every hospital, abortion or not, requires 2 ultrasounds. They always have, always will. That has never changed, and it never will change. When she denied that second ultrasound, that became the issue. So
No.
Stop using these cases and not actually reading the full story of what actually transpired.
Wait, first of all, I'm pretty sure that's not true, but I'll pull it up right now.
There was 2 separate cases. I know one was she denied it, and the other one was
where do you have up that she denied? Where did you pull up that she denied the second ultrasound? What article did you pull that from?
So I just said there were 2 cases. So I'm not sure which case you're talking about.
We're talking about Savita Halapa Navarra. She didn't deny any ultrasounds.
Yeah, she actually did. She
Where?
actually admitted she denied an ultrasound.
Admitted what?
If you
She's
read
dead.
The articles, every article she stated she actually has read it.
What article?
Every single article.
What article? Give me the name of the one you're reading that says she denied a second ultrasound.
Every article, I've read them all.
So give me one. If you've read all of them, you should be able to name one from a specific source.
Josh, I'll go ahead and let you take it because I don't like debating him. I've never liked debating him.
That's cool, because every article I click on when I control F ultrasound, I'm just gonna throw this out here. Every article I click on when I control F ultrasound, there's nothing about her denying a second one. So you can continue to lie on this dead woman's name, but that's dirty.
Okay,
On the 21st of October 2012, 31-year-old Indian woman Savita Halapa Navarra, who was 17 weeks pregnant with her first baby, presented at University Hospital Galway. She was initially assured that everything was normal and sent home. However, she later returned after feeling something coming down, and the midwife and senior house officer who examined her found a dilated cervix and bulging membranes. They concluded that she was miscarrying and she was admitted for observation. Standard international practice in this type of situation is to adopt a watch and wait approach and not to intervene unless deemed necessary. According to the HIQA report, page 59, this was also the approach taken in Savita's case. At the same time, a blood test was taken for a complete blood count. The results showed an elevated white blood cell count of 16.9, which is well above the upper limit of normal 10 to 11. In what would turn out to be a key system failure identified by the coroner in this case, this result was not noted in Savita's chart. This meant that the first indication that an infection could be brewing somewhere in Savita's body was missed. This was literally institutional failure. This wasn't something that like somebody was like, oh, we're not going to give you an abortion. This was institutional failure, Jovan.
Did they or did they not deny removing it due to it still having a fetal heartbeat, Josh? Yes or no?
No, according to this, they didn't.
Exactly, they didn't.
The official report literally says the medical team decided to monitor the fetal heart in case an accelerated delivery might be possible once the fetal heart stopped.
HSE report. I'm looking at all of these different leaks. So here, this is.
Have you read the final report, the investigation of incident 50278 from time of patient self-referral to hospital on the 21st of October? Have you read the official report? Please. Come on.
Activated. When the midwives came running, they found Savita standing in the bathroom. She had vomited and there was a pool of clear liquid on the floor. A spontaneous rupture of membranes had occurred and she was leaking amniotic fluid. The miscarriage process was underway. She was made comfortable by the nurses and they confirmed she had no pain, but she slept fitfully that night. The following morning, Savita's vital signs were recorded during the nurse's care round and found to be normal. Later that morning, Savita met with the consultant obstetrician, Dr. Asbury, for the first time since presented to the hospital. Dr. Asbury recommended that Savita be given an ultrasound scan to confirm the presence of a fetal heartbeat. She would later then explain to the coroner's court that her reasoning for checking this was in order to ensure Savita wasn't left on the ward with a dead fetus in her womb, which could give rise to infection. The infection was misdetermination was possible infection was observed. At this point, the care team were still unaware of the raised white blood cell count, and therefore no repeat tests were ordered to see if the result was trending towards progressive infection. Later that day, Savita's antibiotic care was discussed, and it was decided to administer an antibiotic called erythromycin as a prophylactic measure. This treatment recognized the fact that there was now an opening for bacteria to enter as the membranes had ruptured. What the medical team did not realize, however, was that at this point, Savita was already carrying an infection caused by a bacteria which is resistant to the type of antibiotic. It was another 72 hours before this realization was made, during which time the infection spread and Savita's condition deteriorated. This was institutional failure.
Hey, Josh, how come Ireland changed their heartbeat law literally right after she died? After they admitted that the law was at fault for her dying. How come they did that? Josh, have you read the full report, or are you just reading off an article?
Looking at the HRE and the other report, the HIQA report and the HSE report.
Okay, so then you understand that Ireland admitted that the law was at fault, and then they changed the law, right? You understand that?
No, I'm looking.
So why'd they change the law?
Based on the fact of what happened, and it says institutional.
How come they didn't give her an abortion after they found out she was miscarrying, Josh?
This was an institutional failure.
Josh, why didn't they give her an abortion after they found out she was miscarrying?
So a DNC is not an abortion.
Had they detected
yes, it is.
then they would have actually performed it.
No, even
Yes, it
Planned
is.
Parenthood states it's
Yes,
not.
it is.
Planned Parenthood
I don't care
even
about what
stated
Planned
DNCs
Parenthood
are
says.
not
I don't care about what
abortion.
Planned Parenthood
So
says.
again, hi, I work in an OB office.
Good
A DNC
for you.
is not an abortion. So
I'm
please
so
stop
happy
telling
for you, but that's
Please,
not medically
hold on,
correct.
I'm
Host
being
is
very
interjecting.
respectful.
Hold on, Tiff. Host is interjecting. Well, if you keep acting like that, I'm gonna have to drop you.
She literally came in earlier and said, "This is why I never debate Jovan, but I can't be rude." I don't care if you drop me. You guys have had nothing this whole argument. No, boot me. I don't care. Like, boot me if you want. You guys have just been lying this whole time. I'm not. I'm quite literally not. You're misrepresenting a case of a dead woman, and then you're saying that I'm running. Okay. I guess DNCs just aren't abortions anymore.
If you're really that unwilling to have a
Hey
conversation,
guys, can everybody mute, please?
Stop.
Can everybody mute their other mics, please? Deval, all I'm saying is, please be respectful to the people in the chat, in the box. That's all I'm saying. Just because Tiff is telling me something doesn't mean you need to be a smart aleck about it.
I mean, she's quite literally not right.
So actually, hi, I work in an OB office. Please stop telling women a DNC is an abortion.
A DNC is one method that can be used when a person chooses to terminate and end a pregnancy.
Parenthood states it's not an abortion. So please stop calling a DNC an abortion. It's not.
It
Please.
quite literally is a method of abortion. Quite literally.
Please stop. Please.
Your sources trust me, but it's not true.
I'm telling you, as somebody who works in an OB office, a DNC is not an abortion. So please stop.
I work in a medical office too and can be wrong on medical things. So just because you work in a medical office.
Straight from doctors.
you mean like how the
doctors can be wrong.
Infection and it was institutional failure and not like the denial of a heartbeat?
Josh, why did they not remove the fetus? Why did they not remove the fetus the second it wasn't viable anymore?
She was going through a miscarriage, Jovan.
Why didn't they remove it? Josh, when they recognized there was still a heartbeat, why didn't they just still remove it? If they knew she was going through a miscarriage and knew she had a risk of...
She was going through a miscarriage, Jovan.
So why didn't they remove it, Josh? Answer that question.
Pull this stuff out and everything like that. All the natural process is already doing. Poses its own danger.
Josh, please answer the question why they didn't remove it.
What part of that didn't you get about like how that was the question? If they go through while she's having it, that poses more risk to the woman.
If you're having complications from the fetus still being inside of you, and you're saying the doctors just said no, we're not going to remove it. Period. We don't care.
Where did Josh go?
He said he'll be right back.
Oh, he had to do something.
No, I think his internet was acting up, so I'm gonna leave that box open for him.
Okay.
Okay, so I would like if everybody.
Yeah, people keep spamming my
Hold
phone.
on.
That's why.
Hold
So
on.
like, yeah, if I'm going to do something that like is going to be like at risk of the mother and like go through that, yeah, sure. But like when she's already going through the miscarriage and there's already a bunch of stuff going on, why in the world would a doctor say like go for it and be like, yeah, let's just do an abortion, let's just cut her open and like do that? That's ridiculous.
Did she ask for one?
Wait, hold on. I distinctly remember you saying that if a doctor says no, right, then they're fully like capable of like saying like no, and they're not going to perform the abortion. So why would that even matter?
What I'm asking is, was she in an immense amount of pain? Was she trying to end the pain? And did they deny the reason to end the pain because of the way that the legislature was in Ireland? And if the answer is no, why did Ireland immediately change their legislature after an investigation into this case?
Wait, so you're going to appeal the legality on this?
We're talking about laws, Josh. So yes, I'm sorry that I'm talking about legality when we're talking about laws.
Do you want me to answer the question?
Jesus Christ, stop being...
Josh,
stop doing this. Stop being so bad faith on this.
But like, here's the thing. Like, even in the event, right, that this was good, that they decided like, no, we're not going to do it, and people get outraged, and then they like go through and like people due to their constituents going mad that they like put this in, that doesn't necessarily make it right or like the good thing to do here in the scope of like the health of their patient. So when I say that there's somebody already going through something and they're going through pain and they're under duress, which we would obviously acknowledge that like people in these circumstances want to do desperate things, the doctor who is seeking the best interest of both of his patients would obviously say, no, I'm not going to put you and this other patient in mortal danger, specifically because this, you're going like through an abortion. We're going to try to save both of the lives if we can. So yeah, obviously.
That didn't answer the question I asked you, Josh.
Wait, I'm sorry that you don't like the answer to the question.
It's not that I don't like it. It didn't answer my question in any way, shape, or form.
You just don't like the answer.
No, you quite literally didn't even. You refused to answer the question. You answered a question to something I didn't ask.
Why they changed the law, and I said it doesn't matter why they changed the law. It doesn't hold any water to like what the issue is for here, because like this was institutional failure to already present laws. Because here's the thing, or not even laws, just procedure. Because, like, here's the thing. They missed, by a long shot, this stuff. They missed the infection. She already had the infection present, and they missed it. This had nothing to do with her, like, being denied an abortion.
Why did she die?
Could have been caught much earlier.
She died from what?
An infection that could have been caught much earlier.
Sepsis.
Yeah, that could have been caught much earlier.
What was the cause of the sepsis?
Her going through a miscarriage.
Great. What did they refuse to do with the fetus because the heart was still beating?
Wait, hold on. Are you saying that they should, just to be clear, you're saying that, what exactly type of procedure are you specifically asking that they, or stating they should have done?
I'm saying if a patient comes in while experiencing a miscarriage and has a multitude of things showing wrong and asks, can this be removed? And your response is no, because it's got a heartbeat.
That is not their response.
L. It was though,
That's
Josh.
Not their response.
It was though, because guess what wouldn't have happened if they had removed the fetus?
Why don't you keep pressing this as if the more you press it, it's going to be just accepted? It's not.
Miss Jalapa Navarra asked for an abortion. Her repeated requests were denied. On at least one occasion, a doctor told the couple that she couldn't get the medical care she needed to save her life because this is a Catholic country. So an abortion would not be performed so long as a fetal heartbeat could be detected. I was blocked. Come on, bro. They blocked me. Fucking dipshits, bro. Just be mad because you fucking lost, bro. Be mad because you lost. Be mad. Be mad. Be mad. Please. We even have fucking... She even appealed to Ireland to say, I shouldn't have to follow these Catholic laws because I'm... Come on, bro. I didn't drop. They blocked me. Couldn't take the heat. Couldn't take the fucking heat. Like, please. They can't handle the truth, bro, yeah. Literally all... What, are they saying they didn't block me? Tell them I'll upload the fucking... Hold on, I'll go back on my other account. They act like I don't have 3 fucking accounts, bro. Let's fucking go. I'll go on back on my fucking other account. I don't give a fuck.
Hey.
I don't give a fuck.
You know...
What's her name? Proud Cat's lover?
back here because I would absolutely drop for him. Like, no problem.
So we block it now?
Him to leave.
Yeah,
Like,
no,
Yeah, like he was.
I'm waiting for him to come back. No, okay. In the comments, please stop saying that Tiff blocked him. He
I
is
don't care.
not
They can
blocked.
say it because I find it funny because he's not blocked. Crystal or Caliver just went through.
I have the
blocked
fucking
list.
video,
He's in
bro.
the comments. He's in the
I have the
comments.
video.
For
Okay.
the,
He's back.
It's record.
I'll
114
drop for him
people
real
watched
quick.
it happen.
But
He
I'll
wasn't
do the
blocked.
request.
She looked her
What
blocked by
happened?
him.
So I'm just gonna throw this out there. I'm on Twitch. 114 people saw the block message. So I don't. You can claim I wasn't blocked, but I'll upload the video to prove I was. If people don't believe it,
Who blocked you? Did it? Say
it doesn't.
blocked?
It doesn't tell you. It says host blocked.
tell you who specifically.
Yeah, I did not block you, so that's why I'm bringing you back up.
Yeah, I didn't block
Like,
you when none of the other
legit
mods blocked
not
you.
apparently on a
So
block list, Jovan. Like I straight up was saying, like, no, don't. Like, check the block list, remove him if it was a mod, so you can come back up here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Nope.
it was somehow it was in the block list, but I don't know. It doesn't say who. So I unblocked it. You're back, so you can guys go back to your conversation.
All right.
It's fine. Don't worry about it. Nobody. No, I don't know what happened. It could have been a glitch.
yeah, TikTok's been kind of glitchy because people get blocked for no reason and nobody actually blocked them. So I don't know what's going on with it.
My Twitch chat is saying the name started with a P. So I don't know if you have a mod whose name starts with a P.
No, she doesn't.
That's what they said showed up on screen.
Yeah, she doesn't have a mod with a P.
Either way.
Yeah. Anyways, continue, please.
Let's just drop it now, guys, in the comments. He's back up here.
Like,
He can go back on his debate with Josh.
That I'm reading.
Just drop it.
Huh? Yeah. Well, I don't really know where we go from here because it's like everything that I'm reading screams institutional failure. Not like nothing says anything about like they denied her based on a fetal heartbeat.
Well,
There is talk in here in all these articles about like, yeah, they're wanting to do these tests and run these tests and make sure that they're like going forward right. But these tests that they ran, they should have been able to catch the sepsis way earlier.
So hold on, it's in the report. Hold on, I'm pulling it up right now. I'm just trying to see.
What case are you guys talking about so I can also read this? I'm genuinely curious.
The full. I'll give you the name of the full report. It's final report. It's investigation of incident 50278 from time of patient self-referral to hospital on the 21st of October, 2012 to the patient's death on the 28th of October, 2012.
Slow down so I can type it in, Jovan. So investigation of case.
Incident. Yeah, go ahead.
50278. I should have just given you the article that has the link to it, but whatever. From time of patient self-referral to hospital, and that should get you enough to get in there.
Time of patient.
I don't know, honey.
From hse.ie, the HSE report?
Yes.
Yeah, so.
And I'm looking to pull up the exact spot.
Board acknowledgement. What's the institution? Okay, fine.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Okay, guys, last time in the comments, even if it says the host did, I did not. So stop.
I'm just looking for the specific part.
Is this the case from 2012 or?
This is Havita. This was specifically about I don't want to say her name wrong, and I always do. Savita Halapanavara. This was from 2012. Yes, thank you.
Okay, I wanted to make sure I was on the right page. Okay.
Yeah, and it's a very long report. It's a very long. It's like I think it's like what 100 something pages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the forward states this investigation undertook to provide a methodical, accurate, and impartial report on the events which took place between 21st of October and the 28th of October 2012 relating to this tragic maternal. Well, that's automatically not.
So just really quickly, I just want to read you this really quickly, Irish, because it will clear up everything that we stated that we've been talking about. In an interview with the OBGYN, it was said that in an interview, the ONG registrar doctor stated that the plan was to check the fetal heart and that the patient had asked on the 23rd of October about termination. And the ONG consultant stated that the patient and her husband were advised of Irish law in relation to this. At interview, the consultant stated, under Irish law, if there is no evidence of risk to the life of the mother, our hands are tied so long as there's a fetal heart.
Wait,
So
right there. There was no evidence.
What page is that?
That's page 33.
Yeah, so right there was no evidence to life of the mother being taken. This was institutional failure. They didn't have any proof that the life of the mother was in mortal danger.
Correct.
So they weren't performing.
Yes, the consultant stated that if risk to the mother was to increase, a termination would have been possible, but that it would be based on actual risk and not a theoretical risk of infection. We can't predict who is going to get an infection.
Right.
So due to Irish law,
this is institutional failure. Because they should, by all means, have been able to detect the sepsis that was already happening. It was institutional failure. She did not die because they denied it based on a fetal heartbeat. They denied it because specifically there was no imminent mortal threat and they were trying to conserve both the lives.
Josh, she didn't receive sepsis until after she had requested the abortion.
Bro, that's not what everything else says. She died of an infection that was already able to be detectable while she was going through the miscarriage.
Where does it say that in the report, that the official report?
Wait, in the official report?
Because here it says sepsis is difficult to diagnose in pregnancy due to the associated natural physiological changes, and this calls for efficient assessment and monitoring of the patient by the clinical team to enable them to promptly recognize and respond to the signs. So it's already difficult to detect sepsis in pregnant women.
Yeah, hold on though. So like, if a patient just comes in and says, I'm infected with whatever, are you just going to automatically give them the treatment?
She didn't know she had an infection. She knew she was in pain. They knew that the fetus was miscarrying. She wanted to get it out.
Right. But the miscarriage process, they had to do these different tests to make sure that this was the process. There's a process that has to go through so to protect the life of the mother. So even in their procedures that they went through, there was still an institutional failure because at some point, according to everything else I've read, now I haven't read the full report, but everything else I've been reading since we've been talking about this has stated that there was an institutional failure, that she had an infection that they did not detect through all these tests. And at that point, if they found that there was an infection that threatened the life of her, they would have done it, but they didn't detect it. Now,
why did they have to have an infection to remove an already miscarrying fetus if she was in pain?
Wait, hold on. Are you really going to say that performing this is why I asked earlier, what type of procedure are you talking about doing to get this fetus out of her? Are you talking about cutting into her and doing an actual surgery, or are you talking about doing other things?
She was at 18 weeks pregnant? She was 18 weeks pregnant? Whatever the doctor deemed necessary to remove it. But they couldn't even have that idea. They couldn't. So first of all, the things I just want to mention, I want to talk about what's actually going on in the case here. They had no idea. They could not find any sign of infection when they tested her initially. A, because sepsis is incredibly hard to diagnose, so that's why they watch you to see what happens. And B, because she didn't present any clear signs of sepsis. She went in for back pain. She didn't present any clear signs to them that there was an infection. They literally said that they did not find any signs of infection. She then said, I'm in a lot of pain. And this wasn't the first day. This was 2 days after she was admitted to the hospital. She said, I'm in pain. I would like an abortion. They said, we cannot do that because Irish law dictates that if you have a fetal heartbeat, we cannot remove the fetus. She then got the sepsis and died. It wasn't a slow thing. She died very quickly. They could not save her. But what could have saved her would have been if they could have removed the fetus because the laws in the land were not stopping them. That's all I'm saying.
I'll leave that for a second. Number one, everything that I've read, I haven't had a chance to read through the entire report, but every single thing, one of two things happened here, right? There's the claim that I'm reading from every other report and every other article that says that she had sepsis or she had some type of infection before she was even admitted. right? And it should have been detected. There's another thing that you're claiming, that she had sepsis as the miscarriage was going on. The miscarriage caused the sepsis.
Josh, her body didn't pass the fetus naturally, right? How do you get sepsis? Is sepsis an infection, or is sepsis a reaction to an infection?
Hold on. There are two things here, right? Either way, right? This is why I asked the question earlier, right? If somebody just says, I have back pain, do you think that, like, they should just be able to have an abortion? I think we would both agree that this is not something that, like, would be an exception.
If they're in the middle of a miscarriage and they're in the hospital for days experiencing a lot of pain and their body physically cannot pass the fetus.
Hold on. But she came in for back pain by your own admission.
And they determined that she was in the middle of a miscarriage and were trying to let her body pass it naturally. But it didn't. And what happened when it didn't pass it naturally? She got an infection. And then what happens when you get an infection that goes untreated? You get sepsis.
There is no evidence that going through here, from what I've read, now I may find it in the report, that she wasn't able to pass it naturally. And even if she couldn't, right, they still should have been waiting to see if she could have, because there's no reason for you to actually go in and cut into a person and perform a surgery that is unnecessary if they're going to be able to pass it. They had to wait and find out, because number one, it is in the interest of the health of the woman to not do that.
I'm just going to read you in more interviews with the OBGYNs where they specifically said, OBGYN number 1 recalled at interview that the patient was actively having pain and that it was probably a matter of hours before miscarriage. The management option considered by O&G and discussed with the patient was conservative management, wait and see what would happen naturally, and that no other forms of management were discussed. So they literally knew she was going to miscarriage, and then the fetus did not pass.
Wait, hold on. They said that it was within hours of miscarrying. There is nothing in what you just read that said that it was not going to be able to pass. They just said that there was going to be a miscarriage.
How do you think she went septic, Josh? Because it didn't pass.
Yeah, they had
Jovan and Josh, can I say something? So I believe we should just switch the topic because it's not going anywhere with the both of you. And this is also in a different country, and I feel like we should be focusing on the U.S. situations, not another country, and this is not getting anywhere. You guys are just both going in circles, so can we please switch the subject?
Bruh.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I mean, I don't really care whether or not we switch the subject. I originally wanted to come up here to ask that not Gaia question. But thank you for letting me back up here, host, once again. I'm still trying to figure out, based off what I've been reading and everything, Josh, and not to continue the conversation. It just doesn't seem to me like you're even, taking in the information. You're saying that all the stuff that you read, these articles, but you're not talking about the report. And from what I'm hearing, Javon actually being able to pull up specific page numbers, specific paragraphs and everything. It seems like he's more educated on this specific case than, unfortunately, any of us are. Maybe not Tiff. Tiff may know, but it seems like he has more information than you could have. So I'm not understanding why you're questioning him on every other aspect.
Presenting is not exactly what he's saying, though. That's the problem.
What exactly is he not saying? Because it seems like you're just not listening to him, if you don't mind.
Specifically, his claim is that they denied her based on her death was caused of a denial of an abortion, when actually what was caused was institutional failure, in that they couldn't detect the infection that was happening. This is what I'm reading from the articles. He's claiming that the miscarriage, in fact, was actually the cause of the sepsis.
Well, it's not like it's a claim.
It was.
Seems like he's actually reading it from the report.
Hold on.
You're talking, like I said, you're talking about articles. Giovan's talking about the actual official report that they're able to collect.
Right, and I'm pointing to the fact that the institution failed here. It wasn't the actual consistency right here. So they didn't detect this, and even if they couldn't detect it, right, the process, still would have been in the best interest of the woman to try and wait and see how this stuff was going until they figured out that the woman's life was in imminent mortal danger, and then perform the medically necessary principle. That was not deemed medically necessary at the entire time. However, I think we could all agree here that Once they found, and they should have found this out if it was present, then the medically necessary abortion should have been done to protect the life of the mother, though we would have tried to save the life of the child, even at 17 weeks, right? If we can't, that's unfortunate, but we should absolutely be looking to save both lives.
All I'm going to ask you to do, Josh, is just, they have timelines of everything. She asked for the abortion after her water broke, and they had already told her the fetus was not viable. She asked for the abortion because the fetus was not viable. It was going to die. There was no living of that fetus. She asked for the abortion, but because there was a fetal heartbeat detected, they could not abort until that fetal heartbeat was done.
1 second. I just got to look something up real quick. Earliest.
Yeah, they're updating on the hour.
There are some instances where they're updating every 5 minutes. There's a whole timeline of everything.
Yeah, so I actually am trying to understand your argument because I feel like
here's the thing, Jovan, you and I both agree, right, that like the medical professionals should take every means necessary to be able to save both the life of the mother and the child.
If it's after viability, sure.
Sweet. So I'm looking at stuff right here, like from self.com, from Baby Center, from other different like sources, saying that like, well, it's a really bad case and a really dangerous case. They can survive outside of the womb in 17 weeks.
No, they can't. Earliest is 21, Josh. The earliest viable fetus is 21 weeks. Is it 22? I had 21.
Make my point. Am I going to be able to finish my thought? Great. Cool. So, like, here's the thing. If the child was completely dead and it was just like a DNC, that's something we can talk about, right? But the child wasn't dead and the child actually had
no, you're correct. Almost 22.
Then absolutely we should be looking to save both the lives here. And obviously, they would have to wait and see and run these tests to be able to do this. I don't see this as anything more than a very, very unfortunate institutional failure. I don't see this as like her cause of death was not getting an abortion. Her cause of death was sepsis, which was undetected by
what caused her to go septic, Josh?
The miscarriage, Josh.
The miscarriage caused her to go septic.
Okay, so the child was dead.
The child still had a heartbeat, so no, it wasn't technically dead.
It was slowly dying in her stomach.
Mm-hmm.
Was it dying, or was
That's what a miscarriage is that when the baby is dying in the mother's stomach. That's a miscarriage.
So
is when the baby is dying in the mother's stomach. That's what is a miscarriage.
They're dying, they're not dead, right?
Correct. It was not dead yet.
Awesome.
Yep.
Did the doctor take every means in which to like save both the lives?
It was not viable, Josh. It was 18 weeks.
If the baby was already dying, then there was no point in saving the baby. If it was already dying, it was the mother's now life on the line.
Jovan right now, like, and then I can like move over to you. But like, I'm trying to respond to Jovan, then I can answer whatever question you're having. I'm looking at stuff right now, right here. Basic Google search: can a baby survive outside the womb at 17 weeks? Yes.
Where are you? Oh, so not to be rude, and I know you said you wanted to talk about Jovan, but there's like 4 other people on this panel. I apologize for that sounded rude.
I really like to
honestly the earliest fetus stage is where are you getting the 17 weeks? Because I looked this up.
He's reading 17 weeks early. He's reading early.
Need to do this? Give me 1 second.
It's early, Josh. It's 17 weeks early.
Can a baby survive outside the womb at 17 weeks? Really bad. In most cases, you lose pregnancy because the baby can't survive without certain things. However, if you go in here, it actually talks about how, in most cases, you lose pregnancy because the baby can't survive without amniotic fluid and the lungs don't develop. There are, however, other articles that have gone down here, right, that we can look at that show, yeah, with certain things, there have been records of them surviving. So I'm asking you, why? Why in the scope of all of these things?
But
right?
Listen, if we're looking up searches, the first thing that pops up under my, I think it's earliest fetus to survive or surviving, it's 21 weeks and 5 days.
Yeah.
Or if you continue to scroll, it's actually 21 weeks and 1 day. So, like I said, you looking up that particular thing is not saying whether or not it would survive. It's saying that it has a chance to. However, it seems that the actual chance of being able to survive is 21 weeks and 5 days. So, within that 17 weeks, where did you? You just searched up, can the baby survive in 17 weeks? Is that correct?
Yeah, that's all I
Okay.
did. Clear your
One
tab
second.
search. That's all I would say.
Yeah, can we please just like change the subject now, please? Honestly, this is getting me a headache and just confusing me more with it going back and forth.
It's up to the host. I'm not
It
dictating.
literally says in most
It's
cases
not.
you lose pregnancy
It's
due to baby can't survive without. Uh, okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead, host.
I wasn't saying anything. But yeah, if we can go back to the main topic that's out here on with abortion and if why it's not healthcare. Because honestly, we derailed big time.
I mean, I don't see how it's not healthcare. It's performed by doctors. It's care to a person.
Well, what's the definition of healthcare and abortion? So let's just start off with that. What's the definition of healthcare?
I don't know what healthcare, the maintaining and restoration of health by the treatment and prevention of disease, especially by trained and licensed professionals.
Yeah.
Okay, now what's the definition of abortion?
An abortion is the medical termination of a pregnancy via the evacuation of contents of the uterus.
Okay, so
that's
hold on, Tiff. Hold on. So abortion is purposely unaliving an unborn child.
Well, that's what politicians made the definition, but it's not like the definition of medical textbooks.
Giovanni, so the definition of abortion per the CDC's definition, so I'm using a pro-choice site.
The CDC is not a pro-choice site.
Well, pro-choicers love to cite it a ton, so that's why I said it.
Okay.
Anyways, but to give what their definition of abortion is the deliberate termination of a pregnancy that does not end in a live birth.
Yes, that's how they define it, so they can count the numbers. But that's not what the definition is. They're counting specific numbers of specific. No, so if you read specifically what they say for the purpose of surveillance. This is how they're categorizing an abortion. But they're not saying this is what all abortions are. They're just saying this is how we categorize it because we're surveilling the numbers. But if you pull up like Harvard Health or multiple other sources, like medical dictionaries, it's the evacuation of the contents of the uterus via medical means.
Yeah. So like, here's the thing: we can like define it however we want and dehumanize all we want. I think both of us would acknowledge that there isn't like a human life within the womb, and if there wasn't, there wouldn't be reason for an abortion.
Huh? What does that have to do with anything we're talking about?
Human being in there, something's alive in there, right?
Sure, I would never say it's not a human being. It's got human DNA, right? It's a human being, sure.
How would it not be a human being?
I never said it wasn't.
He never said.
I just said it was a human being.
Oh, I'm sorry, and I thought you said it wasn't.
No, why would I say it's not a human being?
Yeah, that's why I was confused, which is why I was asking you, man. So like, okay, so we acknowledge it's a human being in there, and we acknowledge that it's a termination of pregnancy, and a termination of pregnancy results in the death of like the child. Ergo, it is a unaliving of a child.
It can, yeah.
Wait, yeah, I would agree that like it can if we're like using it like the umbrella term of abortion, but what we're talking about specifically is elective abortions that result in the death, the unaliving of a child.
Sure, what is it, 90% of elective abortions are done prior to 13 weeks, so they're mostly done with like the medication abortion or like chemical abortion. What's the issue with that? You're not directly killing anything.
Wait, yes you are.
How? It just removes their ability to utilize your resources. How's that directly killing it?
That's not all that it does. The abortion pills, the treatment, right? The first pill is not just cutting off resources. It goes over the amniotic sac. There are a bunch of things I have documentation. I think I was supposed to send this to you last time, but I never got to. But yeah, so like what it actually is it's like cutting off your resources and then duct taping the child's mouth, like not literally, obviously, but this is effectively what it's doing. Like you're suffocating the child.
The abortion pill works by blocking the hormone progesterone. Without progesterone, the lining of the uterus breaks down and pregnancy cannot continue.
Yeah,
so that's when you take the first first pill.
Like what that actually means that it's doing, right?
It blocks you from producing a hormone.
Wait, hold on. but you are stopping. You are cutting off. That's a resource that you.
Okay, can I ask you a question on that then, Josh?
Hold on. What is it doing? No, I want to stick on this for a second. What is it doing?
Cutting off your hormones.
Mm-hmm. So the effects of rising HCG levels on the human corpus luteum during early pregnancy, medical information, health advice. I have a bunch, like literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 articles here. Do you have Discord? Because it would probably be easy to like send this over to you.
Just give me the name of one of the articles.
Yeah, sure. Well, all of them are kind of like tied together, right? But the first one is called Embryo Survival After Mifepristone, a systematic review of the literature.
Okay.
Another one, when you're ready to, if you want to open up another tab.
Well, I'm just going to stick on this one first.
Yeah, sure.
I'm not really worried about the other ones just yet.
Oh, here's definitely one. Try mifepristone directly disrupts mouse embryonic development.
Well, yeah, it would disrupt a human's embryonic development too. That's not
Right.
That's not the. Wait. It disrupts the development because the fetus can no longer use the hormone it needs because it cuts off the hormone supply.
It does more than that if you read the article. Here is also let's see here. We talked about no, that's not necessary. I think we would both agree that the placenta is a fetal organ. So let's see here.
Yeah, here we go. Mifepristone. This is from Mayo Clinic. Mifepristone is used in regimen together with misoprostol to end which is the one that would remove if you're talking about that, sure, but to end a pregnancy that is less than 70 days in duration, it works by stopping the supply of hormones that maintains the interior of the uterus. That's all it's doing.
So no, that's not.
If you're talking about misoprostol, that does other things.
Hold on, and this is the reason why I said you need to look at all of these articles because they are all supporting documents in what I'm saying, right? So I gave you the embryo survival after mifepristone.
Yes, obviously the embryo will not survive, so I don't know what that argument's what the point of that article is in this conversation.
Right. So I am trying to get you all of the articles so that you have all of the information. So mifepristone directly disrupts development term, right? That was the third one. Here's the next one. This is from ahoy-stage.healthline.com/health/pregnancy/when-does-the-placenta-form has what-it-is. Okay?
Josh, what does it matter about the placenta? That's not what we're talking about.
Yeah, so it does matter about the placenta because this actually does affect the placenta. It crosses over. It cuts off more than just basic resources that you and I would consider
Can you give me a direct source? That's a direct. I don't want all these other things. Give me the direct quotation of how mifepristone hurts the fetus.
The mifepristone cuts off more than just resources for them to consume. It effectively keeps them from breathing.
How does a fetus prior to 4 weeks have lungs?
Wait.
How's it breathing?
In order to respirate, you need to have lungs?
Hey, host, I'm going to go ahead and drop down for Kiara. She's been wanting to join for a minute.
Okay.
Thank you for letting me on.
No problem.
Did you... What?
Nothing.
Am I losing... I'm lost on the lungs thing.
Yeah. Do you think that respiration requires lungs?
Respiration?
Yes.
Colloquially, what did he say? Just breathing? Yeah, I would say breathing requires lungs.
Colloquially called. What it is a process called respiration.
Yeah,
right?
Which is the action of breathing.
No, it doesn't just do that, right? So we can call it colloquially breathing, but the processes are different because we don't necessarily breathe the same way as a fully developed human that we would if we were very, very early in pregnancy as human beings. I think you would know, you definitely know this.
Okay, Josh. Can you just give me your direct source for this?
AKA the placenta, right? are utilized to absorb oxygen into this child's bloodstream and into the right. So that's what that is. So it's cutting off. It's not just cutting off like food to it. You're effectively choking the baby out.
Josh, I just want to throw this out there. Every source that I pull up says that all mifepristone does is cut off the hormone that the baby needs. All it does is cut off that hormone. So I just need to know.
I'm literally trying to give you the counter resources, Jovan, and you're not.
You gave me one on how the placenta forms. You gave me one on that it doesn't let the embryo grow. Obviously, the embryo is not going to survive. That doesn't give me the direct source that says this is also what it does. Besides just cutting off that hormone.
Yeah, these things. In order for me to explain this, you have to have the full scope.
No, Josh, you don't. You can just read me what else it does. I don't need a full scope. Read me a direct source of what else it does.
That tie in all together this thing. So let me get this straight. You want a high school level explanation of what this does. Actually, I've given that to you. You're rejecting it. So now that I'm trying to give you all of the sources that tie together to go deeper in this, you're not interested in reading through all of them.
No, you didn't give me the direct source that tells you exactly what else it does. You didn't give me that.
Bro, what are you talking about?
Which source is the direct one that says that it does more than just cut off that hormone?
All of these are building up to show you that it does more.
No. Josh.
Hey, Josh, Shivani, I need to just interject for 1 second. Hey, host.
I'm here. What's up?
Hey, Kristen is in the queue. If you want to bring her up.
Yeah, I sent you guys something on Discord.
Gotcha.
Also wanting Shira as well.
Oh, no, they left.
And also, I don't mean to yell. I am very far away from my phone right now.
Kristen left. She said she's in the queue.
No, I don't see her. She's.
Give me a second. I gotta grab
It should be Kristen Davis.
Yeah, I'll have a Shara in there. And like.
Kristen, where'd you go? You said you were in the queue. Goober.
Goober. Oh, let me fix my thing. I have no idea what happened to my background.
People are wanting Shira.
Yeah, we know.
Right.
We know. Yeah. People, please stop begging for someone to jump in these boxes. We will bring people up here, as we see fit. So really, please stop. You don't need to say it over and over in the chat, in the comments, please.
Josh.
So host will bring up who she chooses to bring up.
Josh, I just want to throw out that I just pulled up from Secretariat of Pro-Life Activity. So this is a pro-life source, which is sourcing usccb.org. How does chemical abortion work? Mifepristone can cause the death of an embryo or fetus by blocking progesterone, a hormone essential to maintaining pregnancy. And the blocking of that is what leads to the breakdown of the uterine lining, cuts off the child's supply of oxygen and nutrients. So, like, I'm still right.
Supply of oxygen. That's what I was saying. It's not just like cutting off food. It's literally like you're choking them and also cutting off their food supply.
Wait. But all it's doing is blocking the woman's own resource, something that is fully hers, her hormones, and saying the fetus can't use those hormones.
Wait, hold on. Why is that okay?
You don't wait. So we've discussed that direct killing is wrong, but it's even not okay to just withhold your resources from another creature?
Hold on. Not if you have an obligation to them.
Oh, well then we can go back to the obligation, but you were never able to substantiate to me anything about obligations.
Wait, you mean in the last point or today?
No, the last time we debated. We can get to the obligations if you want to. I still think it's impossible to substantiate.
No, host is not going to bring up people if you keep spamming their name in the comments. So you're really not helping your friend by spamming the comments. So just stop. She will bring up the people that she wants to bring up. The host is in control, not you guys. So stop. Just
And
please.
honestly, I'm probably going to be leaving here in 20 minutes anyway. Just like I stayed way longer than like I was supposed to. But like yeah, so we can talk about the obligation. Yeah, I still think that I do believe in parental obligation. I don't believe it's the end all be all. I do believe in causal obligation. I don't believe it's the end all be all. I don't think that consent has anything to do with it. I make the medical exception. That is it.
Wait, you don't think consent has anything to do with making an obligation?
Not under causal. No. I don't
Why
think
are
that
wait? How can you be obligated to something that you didn't do?
Hold on. I don't think that consent has anything to do with whether or not you caused the child into existence.
Josh, if you're saying you have a causal obligation, you're saying because you caused this thing to happen, you have to be obligated to it. So please connect the dots to me to how someone not causing it to happen means they have an obligation to it.
Hold on, Jovan. I don't think that's like, what's the TikTok word for intercourse? Is it just that? Is that the safe way to do it?
I say intercourse, and nothing bad seems to happen to me.
Okay, cool. So like, yeah, I don't think intercourse is the direct cause of the pregnancy and of conception, right? I believe that it is insemination.
What causes insemination?
Hold on, because it is the thing that directly preceded the thing in question in the causal chain.
So that if a woman just says, you're not allowed to inseminate me, and a man does it, then can she have one? Because she did not consent to being inseminated?
Wait, no. Like I said, consent doesn't have anything to do with...
Wait, Josh, whoa.
You cause the child into existence by providing a necessary reagent that would be required to create.
They didn't provide anything, Josh. Then
how did it happen? It's a biological process.
Because they were taken advantage of, Josh.
Where did the ovum come from?
What if someone's asleep and I turkey baster them? Do they have an obligation then?
You still can't unalive them based on that. And the person who actually...
I'm not asking unalive. Do you have an obligation?
Hold on. And the person who quote-unquote turkey basted them should be charged to the fullest extent of the law and should also be held liable and has an obligation to support the other person. Now, that doesn't mean that they're given rights to be able to see or have any contact with them, but they definitely should be held to, like, damages from that, right? What we would call loosely damages from a legal term. I'm not saying, like, causing somebody to existence is, like, a damage.
Josh, we've had multiple conversations before, right? And I've never had any issues with, like, I feel me and you are pretty good conversating. We're pretty respectful. Like, we can get loud, but that's just, like, our nature as people. But this is a wild take, my G. This is, like, out there with, like, some of the most dangerous takes I've ever heard when it comes to abortion.
I don't agree.
Josh, you're saying that even if she does not engage in sex or agree to be inseminated, she still has an obligation to this thing because she somehow still caused it to exist, even though she did not do anything to cause it to exist?
Yeah, ask me what the obligation is.
What's the obligation, Josh?
Yeah, so the obligation is to not unjustly aggress upon them and violate their right to life.
Josh, how does that work practically when SA is so hard to prove and try in court?
Wait, hold on. What does the SA have to do with the fact that she doesn't have the right to unjustly aggress upon their life?
I'm sorry, I need to advocate for fucking all women, pro-life or pro-choice, right? I'll advocate for both in this instance, right? It is quite literally the most impossible, one of the most impossible crimes to try in court, to prove. It is quite literally impossible. And there are multiple states where unless you have a conviction, your SAer has rights to you and your child. So, like, this is a baddie take for me.
Yeah, no.
And I mean, intercourse with SA, the R word, whatever, it still goes with possibly getting pregnant, however way it goes, because life does start.
Sure, but why are you obligated to care for something you didn't cause to exist?
Wait,
because it has a right to live like all of us do.
I'm fine if your stance on abortion is just right to live. But Josh's stance is obligation, meaning someone caused something.
Wait, the obligation is based on the right to life, that you cannot...
Josh, then don't put causal in front of it.
Wait, you did cause it into existence without you being there? you wouldn't be pregnant. Like, you wouldn't have this problem to begin with.
Josh, if I get hit by a car while walking on a sidewalk, did I cause myself to die?
Provided the necessary reagent for 50%, provided part of the
You didn't provide anything. It was taken from you.
I'm sorry, what?
You did not provide anything. It was taken from you.
If your body didn't create this, right, then it would never have been there. Your body produced the ovum, correct?
Josh, please be for real right now. If I'm walking on the side of the street and get hit by a car, did I cause myself to die?
No, you didn't cause yourself to die, but it happened.
But I didn't cause it, right?
Pregnancy.
But I didn't. If somebody hits my parked car, my car provided the material to be broken. But do I have a causal obligation to pay for my car, or does the other person have a causal obligation to pay for my car? How is it not analogous? My car provided half of the damages to the accident.
This would be more like you're saying, like, oh, I walked down the street, so I caused myself to be R-worded. I would disagree with that. I don't believe that consent to intercourse is consent to pregnancy, and therefore I don't believe that, like, any of this works, right? Because you can't consent to a biological process. It doesn't change the fact that you are directly, partially the cause that this thing came into existence.
You aren't the cause. You're not even partially the cause.
I'm not. So wait, if I'm not the cause, if I don't choose to, like, if I don't consent to, like, intercourse or consent to, like, pregnancy, does that mean I didn't cause this thing to exist?
Yeah, you did not. The other person did.
Wow. Okay, so let me take it further then. If I threw a ball, but I didn't consent for it to hit somebody in the back of the head and cause them to be paralyzed, did I not cause them to be paralyzed?
Josh, you threw the ball.
Yeah, and you provided the ovum.
You didn't. It was taken from you. You didn't provide anything, Josh.
Where did it come from? Where did it come from, Joe?
Josh, what is this? What is this line of thinking, bro?
What is your line of thinking, man? Where did it come from? Where did the ovum come from?
Josh, it was taken from you.
Where did the ovum come from?
It was taken from you.
Wait, no it wasn't. It's still there.
Bruh. Josh, bro. I don't know. I'm really so taken aback right now.
Look, hold on. I don't care about, like, any, like, wrong take of, like, it was taken from you, because it's obviously still there. I'm asking, where did the ovum originate?
What does it matter when somebody essays you?
Body. Here's the thing. Your body, right? The woman's body produced the ovum. The ovum is literally the reason why, at least 50% of the reason, why this child exists, why this human life is created, and why it's in the womb. You caused it to exist, at least in part. You caused them into a state of dependency.
This is what you went months to research and come back with? Josh, can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question in relation to this? Should men be able to forcibly choose their baby mamas? Josh, should men be able to forcibly choose their baby mamas?
You still haven't answered my question.
And I have. I disagree with you. I don't think you caused anything. I don't care if you provided it, if it's taken from you, if it's being used without your consent, you did not cause a single thing. Don't wow me, Josh. You're literally being a grape apologist.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
Hold on. How am I being a grape apologist when I, in the same breath, say that the R-wordist should absolutely be held to the fullest extent of the law, should have no contact with the mother, should have no contact?
Because you're ignoring the fact of how hard it is to prove grape cases. You're ignoring the fact that they are so impossible to prove. And even when we have direct proof, men tend to get 4 months in jail. So that's what you're ignoring.
And designate punishment and give an unalived sentence to a child that had nothing to do with the grape itself.
Josh, how do you prove grape?
Huh?
How do you prove grape in court?
How do you prove grape?
Yeah.
There's a number of ways to be able to
How
do
so?
it.
Then why is it the hardest crime to prove in court? If there's so many ways to prove it.
What does the difficulty of us being able to prove it have anything
Answer
to
the
do?
question, Josh.
not like somebody has an obligation.
Josh, just answer the question.
To unalive somebody unjustly.
Josh, just answer the question.
Do with it.
No, I think it does, because what my issue with, let me explain why it does. This is part of my issue with when we get into like dude bro philosophy when it comes to abortion, because it's just completely ignoring the real world implications about what these specific measures of saying this can't be okay with abortion and this can, what those real world implications are. And I kind of care about the real world implications of what we're implementing, especially if we're putting it into law and it's going to affect millions of people. So if we're saying abortion should be illegal, we're saying even in cases of SA, but you're saying, but it's okay because what's going to happen is we're going to really try this person in court. They won't have access to the mother or the child. Well, explain to me then why it's so hard to prove SA in court.
Thank you, Boo.
Again, this has nothing to do with whether or not you have to, like, you have the justification to unalive somebody who had no, like, any of this, like, none of this fucking matters in the scope of if you have the right to unjustly unalive somebody.
Yeah, I kind of think it does, but that means we're going to get into the conversation of is it somebody or not? We already did the personhood. We're not going back to personhood.
That doesn't mean that we're going to get into it. Actually, the next point that I was going to get into, like, let's say that, like, you could prove it or whatever, like, right? So, like, why would it be okay, right, to unalive somebody in the event of SA or R word?
I think it's okay to remove something from your resources if you did not put it there.
That's not what you're actually doing.
Yes, it is. Don't try to straw man me here. Don't try to appeal to emotion and go, why is it okay to unalive somebody this? I am saying very clearly what I have been saying is it's okay to remove your resources from this thing if you did not put it there and its placement inside of you was forced on you by somebody else.
Wait, hold on. No, you do not have the right to unjustly go after somebody for any reason.
Again, misoprostol, all it does is remove your resources. So you're not unjustly doing anything. You're saying this is a resource that is mine, and I'm keeping it to myself. If the fetus could survive on its own, it can survive on its own.
Unalive the person simply because they were thrust upon you.
Can a pregnant person stop eating food?
Can a pregnant person stop eating food?
Yep.
Are you asking if they physically have the ability, or should they not eat?
If they decide I don't want to eat food anymore until after the fetus has already died because they're refusing to eat, is that wrong?
Yes. And
so what are you? So would you just like feeding tube women?
Do drugs with a specific purpose.
I'm not saying doing drugs. I'm not saying injecting anything harmful into your body at all. You are refusing to give yourself nutrients.
Anything that you do that is going to like directly cause something to happen, like your direct purpose in doing something is to unalive another person, right? That is not an imminent mortal threat to you? Absolutely.
Okay, prove it's a person.
Prove it's a person?
Yep.
Wait, hold on. That's a value statement.
Nope, prove it's a person. You said it's wrong to unalive a person, so what makes it a person?
Unless you want to go down the
We're gonna have to, because you said it's wrong to do a person, so what makes it a person? Josh, just answer the question. I don't need a monologue before every answer.
And therefore it is deserving of human rights.
We're not talking about human rights. You said it's wrong to unjustly kill a person. It's unalive, so what makes it a person?
Circled around human rights. You're arguing that the woman has a right to like evict this child because it was thrust upon her and it was out of her control. I'm arguing that she does not have the right because it is a rights violation to a non-aggressing party, to somebody who actually was not the original assailant and had nothing to do with it, an amoral agent. So we are talking about rights here.
You're arguing that they have a causal obligation for something they didn't do.
Wait, hold on. They have a causal obligation because they caused.
No, they didn't. No, they didn't. No, they didn't.
Disgusting.
What caused the insemination, Josh? What caused the insemination?
Yeah, doesn't matter what.
Yes, it does. If you're going to say something has a causal link, I can link back in that chain as far as I want. You're saying you can't say that this causal link is important, but this causal link is not important. You can't do that.
In your scenario earlier with the car hitting somebody, right? was the cause of the car hitting you, or the cause of your death the car hitting you, or was it the fact that that person was born and then that person before who birthed them was born and all of these things?
What if I got hit by a car? What if I got hit by a car but died in the hospital due to a heart attack caused by the car hitting? Well, the car directly hitting me isn't what killed me. It was the heart attack later on. But I wouldn't have had that heart attack without getting hit by a car. So who's at fault for that? Should we not arrest the person that hit me?
You're not talking about the direct cause of death.
Wait, what the heck, Josh? If I shoot somebody with a pew pew, but they don't die until weeks later because of an infection from being shot with the pew pew, who's at fault there?
Definitely something that we can go up the causal chain about. But if we're talking about the direct cause of what happened, obviously we have to acknowledge that this is insemination.
What causes insemination?
Again, you're going up the causal chain. We can talk about what causes insemination, ejaculation, right? Which is from the man. But if ejaculation can happen and insemination can't happen. So obviously this isn't a cause because it can result in multiple different outcomes. However, insemination directly goes to this is why I didn't want to stay on for too long, because I lose brain power. I lose recall ability. To conception. This the direct precedent event to conception is
And
insemination.
did she elect to be inseminated, or was it forced upon her?
The ovum?
I know I'm debating Josh.
Inseminated, or
The
was it
host
forced
turned
upon
off.
her?
The host
ovum?
turned off her live. Fucking Christ. The host ended. Jesus H. Mary and fucking Joseph.